Alrighty guys, the stream should be live right now. I am joined by Brett from UFD Tech. Hey Brett, how's it
Hello.
going?
Good, and you?
I'm great, dude. So how you been lately? Your channel's been doing really good.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal, the kind of growth that we're seeing. But um, I don't know. I'm sick. Sorry, my brain's not working entirely right now.
So you've been just while the stream's starting up for everybody.
Yeah.
You've been pumping out a lot of mining content lately. In the last how long since you've sort of been doing quite a bit of it?
I
It's been a
think
while now, isn't it?
yeah, I think we jumped hard into it in November was when we really started to focus on more like entry level mining stuff, not necessarily going after like the ins and outs and like how to mine every single coin that on the face of the planet, but more just how does the average gamer utilize their system to be able to earn a little bit of extra side dough because it's a good thing that like most gamers have access to crypto. They can earn a bit of money if they cash out into fiat, and it could pay for like the next RAM upgrade. And I don't see anything wrong with that or taking that approach to actually doing mining, if that makes sense.
So what do we may as well just talk about it a little bit at the start here. What do you make of it's obviously a contentious thing right now. Everyone's, you've
Right.
got the gamers on one side that are saying, you know what, I hope the whole crypto thing comes crashing down because it's costing me a
Yeah.
fortune to buy graphics cards. I wanted to upgrade. I mean, we've probably both seen tons of comments on the channels, people saying, hey,
Right.
I want to buy a graphics card and I can't buy one now, or things like that. And then there's the miners that are just saying, well, hey, this is the free market. Look, we're allowed to buy graphics cards as well.
Right.
Where do you sort of? I'm kind of sympathetic to both sides, but how do you sort of see the debate right now between the two sides of it, the community?
I think no, gamers absolutely have a reason to be upset. Like graphics card prices are insanely priced. They're nowhere near where it's affordable to actually build a proper gaming system right now. And then I always get the comments of, well, just check out the used market. And it's like, no, 780 Ti's are going for insane prices even still. Everything's totally messed up. And from that perspective, I'm completely sympathetic. And I'm not necessarily sympathetic towards miners. I just understand the business aspect of it is supremely lucrative right now. Well, not today, but like last month, it was insanely profitable. And to fault people from finding a way to earn extra money is just like it's not something we do in most other scenarios. It's not unethical practicing. There might be some, unethical practices going on with retailers and price gouging, and that's an entirely different story. But
Yeah.
the actual miners who are buying up graphics cards, who are paying cash to manufacturers, like there's nothing unethical about that. It just really is a bad place for gamers, and I think it's people taking out frustrations in a way, like when it's on the internet, it's always over the top and too visceral, and comments get way out of hand and death threats come involved, and it's a crazy situation. But
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be that way. There's a happy medium between the two.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I think, I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like it's kind of, and this will be an unpopular opinion, I think, is that I feel like it's kind of scapegoating in a lot of ways, because with the memory prices, as we know, have been going up crazy as
Yep.
well. But there's no easy person to kind of point the finger at, is there? It's kind of like an industrial problem, that the factories have been having problems, and Apple buying up whole production lines for their iPhones. And so it's kind of not an easy person to point a finger at. You can't really just point at Samsung and be like, oh, you guys aren't producing enough. It sort of doesn't have...
Right.
But with Bitcoin and miners, for example, that gives you a nice group to just point the finger at squarely and say, well, look, guys, you're the main reason why. And I do think that they are a big part of it, but I think it's very unfair to put the entirety of the blame on miners for the current state of GPU pricing, because I think it would have gone up anyway because of the memory pricing going up.
Yeah.
Memory pricing has nothing to do with mining, and you've seen that go through the roof. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a balance. I mean, it's not just memory pricing. Like we're not getting $1,200 1080 Ti's because of memory pricing.
Yeah.
We probably would have seen $800 $900 on like the founders editions, but
Yeah.
the levels that it's being taken to and the stock shortages is because people are buying them up, because it is like when you can get a return on investment for a graphics card in 5 to 6 months, and that means over a year you've doubled the money that you put into it. Like it's kind of most people would take that bet.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to kick it to you guys. We got a few people coming in now. Is the audio sounding all right? Is there anything? Is there any issues there? Just let us know in the chat, and I can make adjustments if that's necessary. Otherwise, we'll just carry on. So this first article we brought up here, as you guys can see, WCCF Tech article. After GPUs, CPUs may become the next go-to hardware for use in crypto mining. AMD Ryzen Threadripper CPUs can pay for themselves in under a year. Now, I find that headline a little bit misleading, for the sense that they're kind of making it out like if you could pay for your CPU in under a year, that's a really good return on investment. Where in the mining community, as far as I can tell, something taking a year to pay itself off, that's considered pretty, like, you're taking your time. Usually
Right.
people would say, like, I'd ideally like to pay the mining rig off in 6 months or something, not 12 months.
Right.
So, but what I know you've done, I think you've done at least one video on CPUs for mining, I believe.
Yeah, it actually came out the day before all of this Threadripper stuff started coming out, so it was it was an aptly timed video.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a year return on investment, like that's good. If you can pay off a Threadripper chip in a year, that sounds like a good thing, but at the same time, you can't guarantee returns with mining. That's the volatility in the market is way too high for you to even be able to say, okay, in a year, the hash rate of the Threadripper is actually going to be able to pay off the $1,000 chip, or however much it is. So that is crazy. And then also there comes the fact that you have to buy an X399 motherboard with Threadripper. That adds to the cost right there. No matter what, when you do CPU mining, it's less lucrative than GPU mining because of how many CPUs you can put in one system. Yeah. You get one Threadripper per one X399.
Yeah.
And that creates, like, if you wanted to build a mining farm off of Threadripper chips, you're spending way more than just the $850 it costs for the 1950X.
Exactly. So I'm just thinking of someone stacking up, X399s and Threadrippers like pizza boxes, all one on top of each other with liquid coolers coming off them. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I think this is more, maybe they were making it kind of like, I believe you did with your video, saying like, hey, if you're someone who's not being sort of super serious about mining, but if you're a person that, say, built a workstation or a gaming rig or a mix of the two, and you're working so all day and your rig would just be sitting at home, you could maybe do something like NiceHash during the day, and then in X amount of months you would have actually paid off your own rig. So that's something I would is that something that you would agree with people doing, something like that, so that kind of pay itself off mining?
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's the added benefit that with CPU mining, at least on Threadripper, you don't need to use all of the threads to get the best performance. You actually get worse performance if you try to use all 32 threads on the 1950X. Yeah. So you still leave room to do things like, watch YouTube videos when you're mining on a CPU. And then there can be the added benefit of, if you're building a mining rig, you can get an X399 system that supports 6 graphics cards. So you have the Threadripper on top of the GPU mining rig, and that brings in a little extra. But at the same time, building CPU mining rigs that are dedicated only to CPU mining rigs is just like, that makes no sense. But a workstation where you're using it, like you go home for the day and you just set it to mine overnight, getting like $500 a year isn't too terrible for not having to actually do a whole lot of input.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I know that well, we just mentioned it. I will say one thing that I really like that you do with your videos is that you're saying that's, when talking about mining or projected, how much profits you might make, you say as of today, as of filming,
Yeah.
which is so true because, that it could go up. And, I look back and watch some of your older videos when I was going through your channel, and you would see ones with, I think you did one from memory, it was like Ethereum, maybe it was a few months ago, and you were saying like current prices are like 600 or something, but I think they'll go up, and then you look and it's, how much it's gone. I mean, it has come down a bit too, but
right.
Yes, so I think that's a very good thing, and these kind of articles are a little bit misleading in that sense of that they because things move around so much. But
yeah,
on the subject of NiceHash, because I've seen you did make a standalone video about it, and then you made one talking about sort of the alternatives to it. So do you still believe it's good to use, or do you not recommend it anymore?
Yeah, that's more so as a one-click miner software, like just looking at the GUI and the interface and as a software, NiceHash is still pretty great. It's the way that the company has behaved after they got hacked that has kind of created a lot of distrust on my end for how they handle themselves. So that's more of a political question than it is like an actual practical question, because like mining with NiceHash is so simple. It's so easy. It's good to do. Yeah. You get basically the same rates as if you were doing it yourself. Yeah. Like there's very little downside in how it manages the miners, but when it comes to like the things that they've done with like how they pay out to your wallets and the promises that they made from recovering from the hack that they haven't kept to, like there's just a lot of stuff. As a company, I no longer trust NiceHash, but as a software, like it's super enticing and super easy to use. But as a practical alternative, there's one that I found is nearly as simple to use. It can get more complex, but Awesome Miner is what it's called, and it manages your miners without the political backend that NiceHash has. So NiceHash has both the miner and then also manages all of the wallets in the back end and paying you out, whereas Awesome Miner is just a GUI. It just aggregates the miners for you. You click start, it gets to the most profitable one, and then it pays out to whatever wallet you want through whatever pool you want. You can customize it however you want it to be, whereas NiceHash, you're stuck to their ecosystem.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I because if you use NiceHash, you can. The issue with the hacking was that it was people using their wallet, isn't it? So if you use a different wallet, then you would have been safe. Is that correct, or did I get that wrong?
Yes and no. So like they have payment thresholds, and so if you're below the payment threshold for an external wallet, you lost your balance as well. They say they're going to pay it back. They originally promised to do that by January 31st, and then when January 31st came around, they said we're going to do 10%. So they've changed their tune on that. Yeah. So yes, there are ways to get around it, and they've developed a partnership with Coinbase, which is a large U.S. exchange, where you get free payouts to Coinbase, which is fine, and it works for a lot of people. But at the same time, like it's basically your choices are use the NiceHash internal wallet or use NiceHash with Coinbase. And if you don't want to use Coinbase, then you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting then, I suppose. I mean, I heard about it at the time. It's sort of staggering the amount of money, isn't it, involved that was hacked. It's just...
No.
Boy. Were you actually caught up in any of it? Did you actually lose any money out of it or anything?
I think I lost something like to the tune of $50 at the time it was hacked. I had already moved away from NiceHash at that point, as far as like my personal mining stuff. But I still would have recommended them as a very easy to use miner at that point. And like, I don't put shame on people who use it right now. I just personally was seeing how they've handled the recovery from the hack. It's not something that I can feel good about recommending.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. So as far as the different cryptocurrencies go right now, which one? I mean, do you follow them quite closely, or do you sort of how closely do you follow it?
I keep up to date on the prices, but I'm not somebody who speculates on currency performance over time or like looks into the new up and coming ones to mine. Yeah. I kind of stick with the mainstream, what most people know, what most people would feel comfortable with, the ones that kind of are solidified in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. Yeah. Because recommending anything that's like new and up and coming could potentially be super hazardous. Like I've seen people promote certain currencies to mine that the company behind developing the currency was like, oh wait, that was all just beta testing. All of your coins are gone.
Oh wow.
And so like there's just there's a lot of shadiness that's going on in the crypto market, and so I try to keep myself away from that as much as possible, even though there are legitimate smaller currencies out there that are like definitely viable to mine.
Yeah, yeah. So a currency that I'd never heard of until I watched one of your videos was I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correct. Is it Monero? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Monero.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been one that you've talked about in quite a few videos. So what kind of I believe from everything I learned, guys, as I explained in the last stream I did, I'm not I think I'm a decent amateur when it comes to this whole mining stuff, but I definitely don't know anywhere near as much as Brett does. But so Monero, that's quite good for the AMD cards, isn't it? That's the one you want to go for if you've got things like the 580, the 570, maybe a Vega. Is that
yeah.
The one?
So. Yeah, no, Monero is definitely good. It's because the algorithm that Monero uses is very friendly to Vega specifically, because it can render it. It basically, you can run two threads on a Vega card, so it looks like two GPUs are mining at the same time, and that's where we were seeing insane performance from Vega. It's outpacing every single other card on the market from Monero. Yeah. Because of the way Vega's designed with compute performance in mind. The HBM2 is also really good for that, and the high bandwidth cache controller on Vega definitely gives it a huge advantage. And then we're also seeing a kind of resurgence in the low end. RX 550s right now are coming out. Somebody found a BIOS tweak that you can do for it, where it can get around 400 hashes per second, which is very, very respectable for how much the RX 550 costs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So it hasn't really hit the market yet, but yeah, 550s, it might be the next card to go as far as like the cost to reward benefit that's there.
Okay, because if you were to say I've been reading quite a few articles. I mean, there's quite a few out now in terms of the graphics cards which are the best for mining in terms of their mining performance to their power usage, because of course that's going to be your main expense when it comes to mining, your only expense really aside from buying the products themselves, is electricity cost. So I've heard it's sort of a bit of a debate. I'd like to get your perspective on it. So you have the people in one corner saying that the things like the 1070 are the best GPU for mining right now, and then you have people in the other corner saying things like the 580 and 570 are the best ones for mining right now, purely in that terms of performance per watt, in terms of hashing rate and stuff like that. So where do you fall on that? Would you be more towards, say, if it was your own money, you had to build, say, a 4 GPU mining rig, would you go towards the AMD cards? Would you maybe go towards the Nvidia cards?
Yeah, it depends on how much work you actually want to put into a mining rig, because 580s can absolutely beat a 1070 in terms of hashing per watt. You just have to be comfortable with flashing the BIOS, undervolting, tweaking settings, making sure that you find the most optimized setting. Whereas with Nvidia, there's a lot less work that goes into it to already have an efficient card. So if I was actually putting my money in it, I don't have the time to mess around with my mining rig. So I would actually go with Nvidia because there's less steps to getting the best performance out of them. Therefore, there's less issues, and it kind of creates a better overall scenario for me personally. Whereas if I had the time, I would be more than likely going with AMD cards. Vega 50, like the reason Vegas are over $1,000 is just because the Monero hashing rate is insane. Vega 56, once you flash it to a 64's BIOS, is the best. If it's at MSRP, it's the best card you could possibly have.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. You mentioned Vega 64, so here you go, guys. So this is what I picked up just today. It's the first non-reference Vega 64 I've managed to get my hands on. This is the Asus ROG Strix. So this one is looking really nice. So I picked this one up from Playtech today, and I'll be doing that unboxing very soon. Probably next video that will be coming out will be the unboxing of this guy. So I'm really looking forward to testing it out, because I know other people had their reviews up a while back, but I mean, I'm telling you guys, this is the first one I've been able to get my hands on. It's very difficult to actually get these non-reference Vega cards. We just don't see them here. They just don't seem to be coming in. Maybe it's just, I know it's definitely for Australia as well, because Brian and Steve have had trouble with that as well. But how about you, Brett? Have you seen many non-reference Vega GPUs?
No. All of the AIB partner cards are just basically non-existent here.
Okay,
I mean, there's the issue of global stock shortages, but then also like South Africa's at the bottom of the totem pole as far as like regions that they want to send cards to for sales.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I suppose is that just purely because there's not that many people building gaming PCs and things like that there? Is it not a big community there?
There are plenty of people.
Okay.
It's just it's the cost markup that we have. Like before the mining craze, like a 1080 Ti was already $1,100 just because of the shipping and the tax and everything it takes to get a graphics card here is outlandish. Like Vega 56 and 64 before the mining craze were costing in the neighborhood of $800-900.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I think, yeah, I mean, it's been wild. And Steve made a video the other day. I'm not sure if you were aware of it or that you maybe read articles that he had. I got to pick my words nicely here because I don't want to misinterpret anything. But he was, how would I put it, hypothesizing that AMD has been pulling back the amount of chips they're giving to the board partners in order to push their Frontier Edition graphics cards, which are ones they sell directly.
Right.
So that does not go through. It's kind of like what Nvidia does with the Titans and with the Titan V now and the Titan XP. So that's something he's been talking about, and that's maybe he was the idea being that he had tried to get statements from them, but to my knowledge, he couldn't get anything direct about the issue. But that's what he was thinking, is that they're pulling them back. You know, the board partners are wanting them to put into their non-reference Vega 64s and 56s, but it's just purely the AMD's wanting to put them in the Frontier Editions. I imagine that's mainly because miners are buying them, but just like the Titan V, I wouldn't imagine the Frontier would be particularly profitable for it, because although it would probably do better, I haven't actually looked at the specific things, but I know the architecture. I wouldn't imagine it's that much better than a Vega 64, but the price tag attached to it is much, much higher, the same way the Titan V is an excellent. I mean, it's like a mining machine. Oh boy, you want to go crazy. But I mean, the price is staggering. I mean, it's $3,000 US. Wow.
Yeah.
So, but obviously AMD seeing that as something, they're pushing for. So I think that may be an issue there.
if you go to Newegg's website right now and you click on desktop graphics cards, the banner that exists right there is Radeon Vega Frontier Edition, high performance for blockchain pioneers. So AMD is definitely marketing it that way, and it's not better than a 64 as far as I understand it. It comes in just a little bit under a 64, but the benefit was AMD didn't really sell the Frontier Edition, so they were lowering the price to get them out of stock. And it's going for $1,000 on Newegg right now, although it is also out of stock. But if you could get a Frontier Edition for $1,000, or you could get a 64 for $1,100, Frontier Edition makes sense in that instance. And it's the same thing we were seeing with 1080 Ti's versus the Titan XP. The mining craze was driving 1080 Ti's to $1,200, $1,300. Well, you can get a Titan XP, which is basically the same mining performance, for $1,200 from NVIDIA's own website.
Yeah, I know. It's just, yeah. So that leads us nicely into the next article we have up here, which is Nvidia. This just came out a little while ago, but Nvidia asking retailers to stop selling to miners and to sell to gamers instead. So the previous stream I did, I talked about this, and I personally believe this was just Nvidia just trying to say something so they look like the good guys. Like, come on, retailers, you guys shouldn't be selling it to all these cards to miners, when at the end of the day, Nvidia has no control about what the retailers do. They can, obviously, they have certain controls, but at the end of the day, the retailers do their own thing. It's a free market, and they're in it to make money. Same way the distributors are. So I think that this is kind of like Nvidia trying to treat the symptom rather than the cause. Especially since, from everything I have read, there's been quite a bit of the board partners have been asking Nvidia to increase chip production, and Nvidia's been kind of saying no, from my knowledge anyway. So with that being said, what do you make of Nvidia asking the retailers to say, hey, you guys should limit, say, 2 per customer, or something like that?
My opinion, obviously I can't say what Nvidia is doing, but this is total lip service. This is them just trying to hold over the tide of angry gamers, while at the same time, like, it's a political move. You say something that's so ambiguous that doesn't have any practical use. Like, hey, we want our, the specific statement is they want their partners to prioritize gamers. What does that even mean? Like, what are the practical action steps to making that happen?
Yeah.
If you don't give action steps, you can't necessarily be held accountable, as long as you make a statement. If you say, hey, we want you to prioritize gamers' needs, then as long as you say that, then you look good, but you don't have any flack from not doing the appropriate action. There's no accountability in making an ambiguous statement like that, which is where Nvidia needs to be, because they can keep their shareholders happy because they're selling out of every single graphics card they can produce, but then they also need to keep their core audience happy, which is the gamers.
Yeah, I see that, and I think that, as I said, the limiting, in the previous stream I did, the limiting to 2 per customer thing is, I think, just, so, like, if a miner is serious, he's going to drive there with 4 friends, they're going to park in the car park, one guy's going to go in, he'll give him the money, he'll buy 2, come out. Yeah. Then he'll send another mate in, he'll buy 2, come out, blah, blah, blah. And if you're doing it online, you could just use different, make a different account for the website, or you send it to different addresses if they're really. But I think, and with the retailers I've spoken to here, they seem to they're not encouraging sales to miners. From everything I've been told, they're not like giving specific discounts to miners. They're not saying like, hey, if you buy 10 graphics cards, we'll knock the price off. We'll make it cheap for you. They're still selling them full price to everybody, regardless if you buy 1, if you buy 20, they'll all be full price. However, they are selling them at whatever, whoever will come in and however many they want to buy, they will just sell them. And to be fair to the retailers, it is a free market and they can do it. That's
Yeah.
for a small retailer,
Well,
that's a lot of money to make in a day, right? Like people think
yeah.
they're like giant corporations, but remember, a lot of retailers are just single stores. They're not huge. They don't have these massive resources, and that could be a good amount in terms of the daily sales. That could actually be very, very good for them. So you have to be. I'm not saying you have to be sympathetic for them. I just think that it is the way it is, guys. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Trying to force it at this end is treating the symptom, when really the problem is just supply and demand. And if Nvidia could just amp up production big time, then the supply would start to match the demand, and then we would see those prices come down, because the only reason they're going up, one of the main reasons anyway, the memory is sort of another thing too, but the main reason is just purely because everybody wants them right now, and there's not enough to go around, and everywhere is out of stock.
Yeah.
So I see that as it.
If you look at it from the perspective of who's actually causing the stock shortages, it's not average Joe going and buying 6 graphics cards. Yeah. That's not what's creating the issue here. Like, every single household having 6 graphics cards isn't causing these this high demand. It's the actual mining farms that are ordering hundreds, sometimes thousands at a time. But then if retailers start only selling 2 per customer, what stops an actual mining operation from applying to become a retail partner and just buying wholesale and then not actually selling to customers, but then getting the benefit of the distributor pricing and being able to just completely do away with retailers altogether? They just go one step higher on the food chain because they have the cash in hand to actually do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the reason why, I mean, the board partners, I think, would like it if more gamers bought it, because the miners are usually just buying the GPUs, where the board partners usually have all their peripherals and other things. You think
right.
of, say, ASUS, for example, like the Vega I just showed you guys. So someone might come in and buy this graphics card, but then they also might buy an ASUS monitor. They might also buy one of their keyboards or something else like that. They're buying more into, they're buying other products as well, where the miner will just be buying the GPUs. Maybe if you want to split hairs, they might buy the motherboard as well. But for the most part, that's primarily what they're buying. So in terms of value for maybe the board partners, maybe they see it as just as profitable to be selling to gamers if they're buying all the other peripherals and stuff as well, rather than just to miners, even though the miners may be buying more GPUs.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly true for certain AIB partners. Like, they definitely want the entire ecosystem. When you think of ASUS, they have the Republic of Gamers brand, which has all of the peripherals, the monitors, everything that you could possibly need for a system is integrated, and they want to create that kind of establishment. But at the same time, like, they released the B250 mining expert, so like, it's not like they're bowing out of it completely. But I have nothing I can go on record about, but like, I know of specific partners who have said to retailers, no, we're not going to sell to you anymore. We're just going to sell directly to miners, because that doesn't require a credit agreement. They pay us in cash. They're going to buy hundreds at a time, whereas you're buying in smaller amounts. Yeah. Like, there are specific manufacturers who have just completely dissolved themselves from the retail chain at this moment, because miners are buying everything.
Yeah. No, I definitely see that. So another topic, and I'm just going to spring this on you, but I know you'll be able to handle it this time because you've done a few videos on it, is the ASIC miners. Yeah. So I actually found it very funny, your video of the ASIC miner, when it came to the noise. That was quite shocking.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. So I watched your video on the ASIC miner, and the short version, at least from what I drew from it, was that it's very good at mining. However, it uses a tremendous amount of electricity. They're the price of them is quite inflated right now, and if anything was to crash, they probably wouldn't be worth as much as if you bought a mining rig, and they're extremely loud. But that being said, they do mine very, very well. So, what do I think? What would be the so when you made that video, I guess, did you purchase that ASIC miner yourself, or
no? We actually we had a friend who I rented it from, so I paid him the money that would have been lost during the time that he was mining. But at the same time, it was the Dash miner, the D3, and those things were terribly profitable, or like not profitable at all at that point. Like he was losing probably $5-6 a day after electricity, which is atrocious.
Yeah.
Because like the D3s, they were sold at a time when it, like you could have paid it off within a few days of getting the miner. But whenever ASIC miners enter the equation, difficulty rates go through the roof. You're not able to mine as many coins. Therefore, like the profitability just like gets thrown out the window. Yeah. And that's what happened with the D3. Dash's value also tanked at the time. So it just became this, it literally was the embodiment of being a paperweight at that point. Sure, you can make like $3 or $4 a day, but when you're drawing 1,600 watts from the wall and you have to deal with the heat and the noise output, like the Antminer D3 specifically was just a giant waste of money. Yeah.
No, I definitely, I think, well, I mean, would you say, given where things are now, that there is a point in even looking into them? Because I think a lot of people see the amount they can mine and they think, wow, look at that, I spend maybe $2,000-$3,000, but it's just a tremendous amount of mining capability. But as you pointed out in your video, there's more to it than that. Actually having to live with the thing is, and especially if you live in an area where electricity is expensive, then they're not going to be profitable. But with the state of the market now, would you say that it would be something worth looking at for people potentially wanting to get into mining, or do you think you're much better off just going to build a mining rig and doing the GPU way?
No, it's either or, really. The biggest issues that ASICs have going for them is the barrier to entry of the upfront cost. Yeah. Like the Bitcoin miners, their most popular one, the Antminer S9, like was selling for $7,000 on the open market, which is just, who has $7,000 to drop into mining if you're not already a mining operation? Like it's not attainable for most people. And then you combine that with the risks that's involved and the lack of guarantee on return, and that creates a scenario where most people don't have $7,000 that they would be okay with parting with. And that's where GPUs really provide the lower barrier to entry. But even seeing in the chat, some people are saying that Antminer just announced the Antminer V9. It's only $345 right now, which is actually really accessible. Yeah. But at the same time, does come with the issues. It draws 1,000 watts. It only gives 4 terahashes as opposed to the 14 terahashes of the S9. And that it's the power draw of 1,000 watts. It's the noise that you have to live with, but it can be lucrative. I would say that ASICs are not necessarily in the place where you make a dollar return on them, though I would suggest buying those if you want to actually hold on to coins, because that's what they do. They're great at actually getting you coins. And so if you mine to hold on to the coins long term, if you believe Bitcoin's going to go back up to $50,000 to $100,000, then getting something like an ASIC, which allows you to actually mine the coins, and you can front the upfront cost of the electricity as well as the miner, then that's actually a really good scenario. Yeah. It's just that there's a whole lot of factors that go into it that don't make them perfect for the everyday person.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so another subject that I saw you cover a video on. Well, I'll talk about these quickly first, and we'll talk about the cloud stuff. So there's USB miners. So we have the Ant miner here, U2, the Red Fury USB miner, and Gecko Science has one. These are cheap, as we could see on this screen right now. They're going for about $50, $45, $50. What do you make of these little USB miners? Because maybe someone's wanting to get in on the cheaper end. Maybe they just want to get into mining. They don't have much money. Maybe they're a student, something like that. Is this something that they could potentially look at, or do you?
No. Their return on investment time is somewhere between like 2 or 3 years. They draw little power, but they also give you terrible rates. Like you're showing, they get in the gigahashes, whereas like this $345 Antminer V9 is 4 terahash. Like it's orders of magnitude worse. And I mean that comes with the lower price, but at the same time, like no, like you're not making your money back on that. That's like a gimmick more than it is an actual thing that people should really look into. Yeah. But one of the things that I forgot to mention was Samsung is actually getting in on the ASIC game.
Okay.
And they haven't released any official data, but the rumors are pointing to that they will be releasing PCI Express based ASICs, so you can plug them into your system, but they're going to be as powerful as the best miners on the market right now. So that might be something that's developing in the future that might be worth looking into, and Samsung might be able to make it more accessible for people. But right now, it's not as much.
Yeah. No, that'll be quite interesting. Now, I didn't watch your video on it because I've been if you guys that don't know, I only discovered Brett's channel about maybe a week and a half ago. If you think that's crazy, like just us, not all of us tech reviewers, especially, there's so many now, like I'm still coming across channels. I mean, like a year and a half ago, I didn't even know Brian's channel was out there, Techier City, and that had a huge amount of subscribers, and then you guys pointed me there. So I haven't, unfortunately, got through all Brett's content just yet. But you did, I saw you made a video on the cloud mining services.
Yeah.
What was the short version of that video for those like myself who haven't got around to watching it just yet?
Yeah, there excuse me. There are some cloud mining services that are just absolute scams. They take your money and give you nothing back. Yeah. But the more prominent ones like Hashflare and Genesis, they're okay. They do what they promise to do, but it's the amount of money you spend for the reward that you get. It's basically double the price of if you just built a mining rig yourself. They offer half the hash rate of what you can build a 580 mining rig for. And as GPU prices have gone up, the contract prices on cloud mining have also gone up. So they stay about double the price of what you can actually get an entire mining rig for. So it gives you the convenience of, you don't have to troubleshoot anything. You don't have to buy the hardware. You don't have to set it up. You don't have to make sure it's running all of the time. It is a very convenient aspect, but at the same time, one, building a mining rig is double as profitable, and then two, the honest, I don't talk about trading at all, but it's like if you put the money into buying the coin, that's usually where all of the profit that you're getting from these cloud mining sites is coming from, not from them actually mining the coin, but the fact that the coin that you've mined has gone up in value.
Okay, yeah, because that's actually good that you brought that up, because that was my next question I was going to ask you. So I've spoken to quite a few people around the industry and also people outside of the industry. When I mean industry, I'm meaning the tech industry, my friends that work in it, things like that. Now, the biggest kind of debate I've heard, or people talking about it, is people saying, should you go towards miners, or the other people saying, hey, I should just, instead of paying $4,000 for that mining rig, I could just buy $4,000 worth of cryptocurrency, say Ethereum or something like that. And then they're saying, the point being that, hey, like, look, if it doubles in price, then the next month or two, look, I've already doubled my money, when the time that it would take you however many months to make your money back on the mining rig. So I know you just said that you don't really do trading and stuff, but from your perspective, would you say, because I personally believe the mining route is kind of a sure and safe route, but slower returns, whereas the straight up investing is kind of high risk, high reward. I mean, you could definitely double your money, but at the same time you also could lose half your money. So
Yeah.
where do you fall on that kind of debate?
I am probably one of the most risk-averse people that has ever lived.
Okay.
And so, like,
Yeah.
knowing that there is no floor to cryptocurrency prices scares the ever-living daylights out of me.
Yeah.
And so I can't find myself to ever recommend just putting your money into it. Obviously, people have made millions of dollars off of just buying the coins. Like, I can't deny the profitability, but at the same time, the thing that GPU mining has going for it is that if everything goes away, you can resell to gamers. You're not left with something that's worthless like you are with ASICs. It's only good at mining, and if mining's not profitable, you have a worthless piece of noise-producing heat generator, and it just doesn't sit right with me from a risk aversion standpoint. The collateral that you get from a graphics card mining rig is something that I very much appreciate, and is where I would put my money if I was doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I think it's definitely, for most people out there, I mean, the one thing I see happening, potentially happening, is kind of like what happened in the US during the Great Recession, which was that, if you guys are not aware about it, this is my knowledge on the subject, and I have studied it, was that the banks giving these basically crappy, giving loans to people that really couldn't pay them back, called subprime mortgages. And the point being that the house is always worth something, so if someone defaults on their loan, they can't pay, they keep missing repayments or whatever, you can always just do what's called a mortgagee sale on the house, where the bank takes ownership of the house back and they sell it and they get their money back through that. And my point being is that the recession happened because when everyone's selling a house, there's too much supply, not enough demand, and all the prices go down. The banks then can't recoup their money, and they lost it. And I bring this up because I can actually see this being something that could potentially happen. I think it would be very, 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 very unlikely. But if something like cryptocurrency got banned or something else, or something else caused it to crash entirely, that suddenly the GPU market, the used GPU market, would be so flooded that everybody thinking, oh, I can get my money back. Then suddenly the GPU's half in price, and everyone goes, oh wow, I spent $4,000 on my mining rig, and it's only worth $2,000 now. So I can see in a sort of catastrophic scenario, I would say that is a possibility. But we got a super chat. Sorry guys, I will try to keep up with. I see that some of you put questions. If you do a super chat, I definitely will. Read it out. So JC Randall said Samsung will be at 200 watts APX and 8 terahashes. Wow. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's just about half of the best miner on the market right now for about 1/7 of the electricity consumption.
Yeah. So that's going to be quite good. All right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about quickly was this site Metro had an article, but there's plenty of others about the crash that's happened lately. So if you are not aware, the okay, I'm gonna get this right. So it's called I try to keep up with the stock markets and stuff. The Dow
Jones Industrial.
Jones Industrial, which is one of the largest stock exchanges in the United States. That went down significantly lately, and that also caused crypto to have a bit of a tumble. They said over $150 billion has disappeared from the cryptocurrency market within the last 24 hours. That was yesterday, though, keep in mind. So, as you might have seen, the crypto, definitely a lot of things have gone down. But it started to come back already.
Yeah.
So that's been quite good. The New Zealand stock market opened today, and we only dipped about 2%, so we've been somewhat resistant to it. That's the whole market here. But crypto's started to come back as well. So did you Did you? I saw you made a video on this as well. Unfortunately, again, gonna get around to watching it. I'm just behind on my YouTube right now, guys. Give me a break. Um, do you think that? How would I phrase this? Well, what did you discuss in the video again? What was kind of the short version? Did you basically say this is just a temporary thing and it'll bounce back, or where do you see this leading?
I did a video on GPU prices returning to normal because of the crash, and then I also did a live stream about the crash. Okay. I don't think this is the end. I don't think it's anywhere close to that. I do think this highlights a few key things that make me super wary of crypto in general right now. Yeah. But like, it crashed below $6,000 for a Bitcoin, but as we were even doing this stream, it's already crossed back up to $8,000. So there's tons of volatility in the market, but that just kind of illustrates to me that these currencies aren't being used as currencies, but they're used as trading commodities. And that's a different area to be in altogether. Like, Bitcoin isn't being valued at $8,000 or at $20,000 when it was at its peak because it was a great currency. It was being valued that way because people could make a great return off of that. Yeah. And they like, it's a great investment strategy. If you put your money in Bitcoin, you're going to triple it. It's amazing. Yeah. That's basically the rhetoric that's surrounding Bitcoin right now and most other cryptocurrencies. Nothing about the actual usability of the currency. And there have been a few places that have banned exchanges and like the ability to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. Like the UK, two of the major banking groups said that you're not allowed to buy any cryptocurrency with your credit card, and that established some of the crash that happened a few days ago. It wasn't exactly tied to the Dow Jones. There were other market factors that were happening where you can't buy and sell Bitcoin on these exchanges, and it just creates this sort of panic that if Bitcoin was an established currency, if it was used for buying and selling and actually using it for what we use currency for, I don't think there would be as much volatility in the market. So I'm super wary of the crypto market in general because it just feels like it's riding on news and emotion more than it is the actual practical benefits of the currency itself. Like, Ethereum is supposed to be this revolutionary blockchain technology for like app building and smart contracts, but I don't know of a single major app that uses Ethereum. There hasn't been anything that really solidifies the use of the currency to make me think, oh, this is something I really want to be in. Which is why, like, people ask me about all of these other currencies, and to me personally, I like the currencies I can use. I don't want to get invested in a currency as a way of making money, because I could totally do that right now with established currencies, like trading the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Like, that market already exists, and I never wanted to get involved in that market in the first place. So I appreciate Bitcoin because I can actually buy things with Bitcoin, but I can't buy anything with Bitcoin Cash. I can't buy anything with Zcash or Monero or any of the other currencies that are out there. The only established currency that I've been able to even use in South Africa is Bitcoin. And that's the only one that matters to me personally because it's the only one that I can actually buy things with.
Yeah, exactly. Have you heard of one called Gridcoin? I've got it up here on the screen for you guys.
I have
not. This one, as far as I'm aware, this one rewards people for, as far as I believe, it's sort of harnessing their computer power to cure cancer, AIDS, Ebola, malaria, map the Milky Way galaxy, crack Enigma machine codes, etc. So it's basically kind of like distributed computing, but for scientific, medical purposes. So this was more to your point that this is one that looks like it's actually doing some good for the people. I know a lot of people say, well, it's just a huge waste. You're not doing anything good with it. Which is certainly an argument some could make, but at least with this one, if you wanted that guilt-free mining experience, then the Gridcoin is like the Coke Zero of mining. It's the it's the one where you don't have to worry. So this could be something you look
Yeah,
at.
but
I only know it's on a surface level, though I don't know about
yeah,
all the other stuff.
the issue I would have with this on a surface level is, what do you use Gridcoin for? Like
Exactly.
what's the actual reward for? Because there are already distributed computing platforms that help solve like cancer research. Like there's Folding at Home, done by Stanford University, where you can help them fold proteins, and that helps with like scientific research. Those things already exist. It's just that Gridcoin is apparently now that, but you get their own cryptocurrency with it, which like I just don't understand how that makes it better. That's where I feel like we are in a bubble to some extent, because people are slapping blockchain and coins on everything that already existed, but the fact that it now has a coin associated with it makes it somehow different.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely see that. So we're just going to touch on a little bit of the mining stuff, guys, and then we'll talk about some just some gaming stuff, and then we can do a few questions if that's all fine. Brett, you happy with that?
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. So to bring this to be relevant for a lot of people out there, so maybe you're a person right now that feels like, hey, this mining stuff, it looks quite good. It looks like I got some money. I have some spare money to build a mining rig. Would you say right now is a good time to get into mining, or as a lot of people have put out, I've seen even some of you guys in the chat say this, that the ship sailed, anyone getting onto it now has completely missed the boat, and there's no point anymore. What's your opinion on that?
I think they've definitely missed this boat, but I think there's plenty more boats to come around. I don't think mining is over. I don't think the profitable stages of mining is gone, especially once we start seeing new GPU releases from Nvidia, whether it's Volta or Ampere or whatever we're going to call it, and then AMD releasing Vega refreshes and Navi eventually. I think that's going to breathe new life into mining, as long as the crypto market doesn't crash. As long as the crypto market's fine, then I think there's definitely a future in mining. But I think anybody getting in right now, like buying a mining rig today, is doing it at the absolute worst time.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people saying like the whole miss the boat thing are basically might be people that are quite disapproving of the whole cryptocurrency mining situation, and maybe they're just throwing that out there in terms of that they're quite upset about it. But
yeah, well, there's several factors that go into it. I said this in my video yesterday about GPU prices returning to normal. When I started building my 6 RX 580 mining rig for the videos that I was doing, they were making $4.50 a piece every single day. Each 580 was making $4.50. By the time before the crash, like the week before the crash, they were making only $3 a day, because the difficulty had gone up so much. So they weren't earning as many. They weren't earning as much as in Ethereum, as far as the Ethereum tokens were concerned, and so the profitability had gone down. Well, now with the difficulty going up and then the prices coming down, we're at the stage now where they're earning about $1.50 per day, which is just terrible, especially when you consider the fact that you can't really get RX 580s for under $500 or $500, which just makes the return on investment time absolutely insane. So there has to be other factors that come at play before I think mining is really worth buying cards for again. Like absolutely, if you have a system already, it's not necessarily the wrong time to start mining. I think it's the wrong time to buy GPUs and get into mining, because your ROI time, unless the difficulty comes down or the prices of the cryptos go way up, it's going to be a very long time before you're going to be able to pay a system off.
Yeah. So another thing that I've heard a lot of people discussing is the exchanges, in the sense that you don't need to answer this if I know this. I'm not sure how I feel, because I'm kind of new to this, so I don't know how is it kind of like appropriate to talk about people's money in regards to mining or not. I don't know what the social stigmas are about that. But from my knowledge anyway, have you moved any money, say, from a wallet to through an exchange to your bank account or something along those lines? My question being, I've heard a lot of people talk about the amount you lose moving crypto into some form that is like in money that you could actually use to, say, buy a car or something like that. Is that something you've had any experience with? And if so, how much losses did you take on it?
Yeah, there's a lot of difficulties in actually getting cryptocurrency into currencies that we actually use. And there are the fee exchanges, the fees that are associated with exchanges that take money out before it hits your bank account. But then also, like, a lot of things that people aren't considering, once you convert it to fiat, most of the time you're going to be taxed on that. That's assets that you earned. So, like, there's a tax aspect to that as well that's going to take away from it. I've personally never cashed out Bitcoin into any formal currency. I've only ever used Bitcoin to pay for things at places that accept Bitcoin as a mode of exchange. And I think that's one of the things that I think is the greatest flaw in the crypto market right now, is everybody talks about crypto in terms of the dollar return. They're not talking about it in terms of the actual currency. Nobody's saying one Bitcoin is equal to one Bitcoin. They're saying one Bitcoin is worth $8,000. And as long as you don't have the currency standing by itself, it hasn't reached that place where it's self-sustaining. And so I think that's one of the difficulties with the crypto market, is just everybody's looking to cash out into their own currency rather than using it as that specific currency. But there are difficulties associated with, like, even one of the big issues Bitcoin was going through, and it still has this fundamental flaw. When it was at $20,000, to send like $50 worth of Bitcoin would cost you $200 worth of Bitcoin. Because the transaction fees were so high, because the miners couldn't process all of the transactions that were going through the system. And so you had to pay more in order to get processed quickly. And most places that accept Bitcoin, they need to confirm your transaction within 30 minutes. And if it's not confirmed within 30 minutes, then your transaction doesn't count. And if you're not willing to pay the high price, $150 worth of Bitcoin, just to buy something with $50 worth of Bitcoin, that actually was a terrible thing that was happening in December, when Bitcoin was at an all-time high, but it was the least usable as a currency as it had ever been. And Bitcoin hasn't really changed to alleviate that fact. It's just that it's not worth as much, so people aren't using it as much. So it's cheaper to send Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, so one thing people could do, if a place accepts Bitcoin, is that might actually end up being more profitable for them, is to, say, transfer it into buying a few graphics cards and then getting those and then selling them directly yourself, rather than trying to put it straight into your currency, your local currency, and then getting it into your bank account. Rather use it to buy through a retailer certain things, products, for example, and then selling those, in which case it might actually be a bit easier. It's from a certain perspective anyway, because I've been hearing things like up to like 7%, some people even saying 10% losses from, say, you had 10,000 equivalent $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, and you're taking a 10% loss through all the exchanges and stuff trying to get it in your bank account. I mean, you just lost $1,000. Which, if you could find a retailer which would accept Bitcoin, you could just buy, say, a whole bunch of 1080 Ti's or something, and then put them in add them onto your mining rig, or chuck them up for sale, because I mean they're selling like hotcakes as well right now. So that is something I've thought about. What do you think that's a good idea or a stupid idea? Or
I mean, it's about as good idea as any. And that's what I've used my Bitcoin for. Whenever I've needed to purchase something, I've used it where I can to purchase. Like, fortunately, my electricity company accepts Bitcoin, so I can pay all of my electricity with Bitcoin, and that's really nice. I don't have to go through the hassle of converting it to the South African rand to then pay the municipality. I can just directly do it. So that's been a great aspect to it. And it does avoid the middleman of you you only have to pay fees once. You don't have to transfer out into your local currency and then pay on top of that, whatever it costs. So buying it directly can work. It also depends on what system certain companies use, because they could actually be charging more in fees than they should be, and that wouldn't be a place that you would want to be in. But if you look around in basically every country, there should be retailers that do accept Bitcoin.
Yeah. So that can be something. I saw someone in chat mention something about like that would be tax evasion. I don't see how that would be the case if that's what someone was saying.
Yeah. Well, it's tax avoidance is legal. Tax evasion is not.
But it's you've got a currency that's like, no, it wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe definitely not in New Zealand. You can do whatever you like with it. I don't even think you have to pay tax on it here because it's a currency. It's not considered like a commodity or anything like that. So,
right.
To the best of my knowledge, anyway. But obviously, I don't know everything. That if someone knows a lot more than me, they could clue me in. But as far as I'm aware, that's not the case. But that's cool. So it's kind of a big thing right now. All the mining's been quite crazy. But we'll talk about a little bit of gaming stuff now. And this was an article I just saw. This was the top one on WCCF Tech right now, and that's Intel's Coffee Lake CPUs are outselling AMD's Ryzen CPUs. Latest report reveals the 8700K popular among gamers. So honestly, I'm not surprised. I don't know, Brett, if you saw my latest video, it's been quite controversial because I switched my personal rig from a Threadripper 1950X back to the mainstream Intel platform. So I went to the 8700K with Z370. My reasoning being, one was that my main reason was that I personally felt that many tech reviewers have become quite out of touch with their audience because of the fact that we get sent, or we personally run, very, very high-end systems. So we maybe don't know what it's like for the average viewer out there that's running a more average system. And that was something I posted on Twitter, and other tech reviewers were agreeing with me. Tech Deals and Brian from Tech Yes City were saying, this is something that people need to look at. So that was the reason. The other one was because I wanted to go back to the mainstream platform. I was having a lot of trouble with my X399. I just thought it was never ending for me personally. So that was another reason. But the main one was to get back on a mainstream platform. So the 8700K, I've only been personally running it now since the weekend, so it's only been a few days. And I've only edited one video with it so far, but I can tell you, boy, this thing in Premiere Pro, it's not mucking around, that's for sure. This is a still very good CPU, so I can understand that. But the Ryzen CPUs are still much better value from my perspective. So I would say the 8700K is the best gaming CPU you can buy right now. I think you would agree with that statement.
100%.
People who don't care about money, they just want the best gaming CPU out there. You get the 8700K, that's the end of it. There's no other way to put it. However, if you are money conscious, you want the best value for money CPU, I would probably still say the Ryzen 1600, which I'll be doing another build next week, most likely. My secondary rig build that will be around the 1600. I would say that is with the i5 8400 being very, very closely behind. Would you agree with that, Brett, or would you maybe put the 8400 in first for value for money? It's a pretty good deal. The 8400 is a hell of a CPU as well for the money. Yeah,
I'm cautious. I don't know if you saw that there's a ton of controversy surrounding adored TVs. Speculation on why the 8400 has a base clock of 2.8 gigahertz, and just that when it's on the Z370 platform, it's going to be a great performer. But as soon as we start getting budget boards, it's not going to be great with its turbo clocks. So
I'm not
really
sure if I watched. I'm not sure if you're aware, but me
okay.
and Jim at Adored TV have had a bit of a checkered past with each other. But
Okay.
dang guys,
No, I
before you
know.
start freaking out, guys, it's it's fine. Me and Jim are friends. We talk on Twitter now. It's all behind us. Me and him just got in a bit of a spiff. Was all. We have very different opinions on things. Very different,
Yeah.
but it's all
No,
behind us,
I know
and that's it.
it's
Yeah.
more of a controversial topic, but the fact that it does have pretty low base clocks is concerning for me. But I actually I would say not even Coffee Lake. The 7700K is still fantastic. Like the fact that you have 4 cores, that's the thing that I don't like about the current gen i5s. You lose 2 threads. And in a lot of applications and in certain games, not having those 2 threads can be a huge issue. So if you can get a Z270 with a 7700K, you would be in a much better place, I think, than if you got an 8400.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So,
But the 1600 is still a great value. And the fact that you can overclock, you can guarantee the clocks that you're getting
yeah,
on Ryzen is one of the advantages it has over the non-K series Coffee Lake chips.
yeah, for sure. So I think there is a lot of talk about that, and you know, Jim puts out very good videos on Adore TV. He does very deep dives. I think it's he does a good job, and it's always going to be. This is something you guys probably don't see much on cameras. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but not all of us tech reviewers share the same opinions on products. There's a lot of times we line up, but that's why even just now I said to Brett, you know, like, would you agree? Would you disagree? Because we don't always line up, especially when it comes to peripherals, I would say. Like, what one person may love this certain keyboard, and you see another tech reviewer, and they go, oh, this thing's rubbish, you know? What's that? You know, there's always going to be that difference of opinion, but that's always what you guys want anyway, because if everybody's saying the same thing, then generally it must be pretty good. Like that's the
Yeah.
and if everyone's saying the 1600 is the good way to go, then you can be pretty well rest assured, hey, this is going to be a good CPU because it's almost universally loved by the tech reviewers out there. But yeah, the 8700K doing well. I think with Ryzen, the 2000 series Ryzen CPUs, or Ryzen Plus, or Zen Plus as they've been called, I think going down to the 12 nanometer manufacturing process, and apparently the uptick in speed, I think that's really going to help. I think that's the area most of us tech reviewers, again, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I would say, I would feel confident saying most of us tech reviewers would like to see is the higher clock speeds. Even if IPC stayed the same, which I doubt will be the case, but even let's say it does stay exactly the same, just the fact that having a Ryzen chip that can go up to say 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 gigahertz, I think that would really, like, they would get a real good hold on the market then.
Yeah.
If that, because that was the main complaint I think people were having. Would that be fair to say, Brett? Was that one of your complaints to Ryzen, that the clock speeds just aren't with Intel on the same? You know, since 8700s are now pushing, 5 gigahertz is like the new standard for an 8700K, 8600K.
Definitely now that Coffee Lake has launched, for sure. But in that like 7-month gap where we didn't have Coffee Lake, I actually didn't think that the Ryzen clock speeds were too big of an issue. I thought the extra cores, the multi-threaded performance it added over what KB Lake had at the time was 100% worth the money. And hitting 4 gigahertz on an 8-core CPU is not an issue for me at all. Obviously, I'd love to have 4.5 to 5 gigahertz on an 8-core CPU, but Ryzen was absolutely groundbreaking, and I don't think that Coffee Lake outselling Ryzen means that Ryzen sold poorly. I don't think that could be construed from that. But I think Ryzen and Coffee Lake finally gave consumers what they've been asking for all along, which is more cores and threads. Yeah. They didn't just want, like, Intel staying on 4 cores, 8 threads since Sandy Bridge is absolutely crazy, which is why I think Coffee Lake would perform well, because Intel wasn't giving people a reason to upgrade for the longest time.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said 5 gigahertz on 8 cores. I'm thinking, FX 9590, man. The whole 225 watt TDP.
Yeah.
That was the wild days. If you guys don't know what that CPU is, look that one up. And boy, that was that didn't go well for AMD. I mean, it was cool at the time. It blew everyone away. Like, wow, a 5 gigahertz CPU right out of the box. But it wasn't a good CPU, and that thing was a big flop from AMD there. So yeah, the CPU, it's funny because the GPU market's gone all crazy right now, but the CPU market's actually the best it's ever been in terms of pure competition and your huge amount of choice that you have. And this year, it's only going to get even more crazy with all these new CPUs coming out, especially with Threadripper 2 and the new Enthusiast Intel CPUs coming out apparently in Q4 of this year, alongside the new Ryzen CPUs, which we should be seeing in April. So it's definitely good for... It's funny how things work like that. So for all you guys that still complain about the GPUs, I feel your pain, but just remember that at least now you've got a great CPU market to pick from. Lots of the CPUs, lots of cores now. As Brett was saying, Intel's finally got the kick up the backside, and they're gone up to 6 cores, which is good. I would imagine we will see that still increasing. So yeah, that'll be quite good. Alright guys, so if you guys have any questions for myself or Brett, you can let us know in the chat and we will talk about them. Just on a more personal note, Brett, what made you get into being a tech YouTuber? How did it all come about?
I was finding myself watching everybody else. Like I was watching Paul's Hardware, Awesome Sauce back in the day, Linus, Jay, Barnacles, Tech Syndicate. I was watching everybody for the longest time, and I just kind of felt like I was wasting my time. Because like I was very much interested in tech, which is why I was watching everybody. So what you're
saying is that Paul's Hardware, Kyle, they're all a complete waste of time.
I mean, for me personally, consuming their content versus trying to create something myself, it definitely was. And where I was in my life, I just felt like I needed to try to step out of what I was doing and stop being a consumer and start being a producer.
Yeah.
And so that's where it started from, was just like, oh, let me casually make videos. And it wasn't until I moved to South Africa and I saw that there was nobody really doing computer hardware tech here. And even still, like, I have maybe 1 or 2 other people that I know of who are doing it regularly. And there was just this massive market opportunity for me to come into South Africa and become the predominant tech YouTuber. And it's been a journey to get there, but I can very definitively say I am the largest tech YouTube channel in South Africa. I'm actually 53rd out of all YouTube channels in South Africa. Wow. Because there's nobody doing it here. And there's been a lot of there was an open space in the market, and I tried to take advantage of that as much as possible, which is exactly why I'm also doing mining content, because most major YouTubers aren't touching it. And so there's plenty of space left for well-produced mining videos that, like, you either have the cryptocurrency guys who only have a webcam and they don't know how to edit and they don't know how to actually string together a narrative. And then you also have like the big guys who just don't want to touch it. And so there's that space right in the middle where I think we found success of, I'm going to release as good as I can produce mining videos that meet the demand that people have for it.
Yeah. Well, it's been doing very well. I mean, your channel's just been blowing up lately, so it's obviously been working quite nicely. Another question, just on the same note, what do you like the most about being a tech YouTuber, and what using con is the sort of too strong a word, but what's the main sort of drawback, the thing you like the least about being a tech YouTuber?
The answer for both is the exact same. Okay. It's the community interaction.
All right.
I've recently picked up live streaming a lot, like trying to do it like 5 times a week, and just getting to talk with everybody and just interacting, answering their questions, them just telling me their stories, everything about just having people who care about what I'm doing and the things I talk about. Like that's amazing. That's fun. That's something that I never thought would happen. But then on the other side of it, there's always, especially with mining, there's the people who threaten to kill you. There's the people who attack you personally, attack your family. Like there's the very visceral side of the internet comment section that makes it very difficult sometimes. But I will still gladly do it because of just the ability to interact with everybody has been phenomenal.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that. So as FeedSpot rated me as the 16th best New Zealand YouTuber, so I was very happy about that.
Very nice. I don't think I'd be rated in the top of South African YouTubers. I'm definitely not one of the best, but I can say numbers wise, we're doing all right.
Yeah. No, it's been
but that's pretty good.
It's been. I think I probably speak for you as well on this, but correct me if I'm wrong. When you're a YouTuber from a country that's not one of in the main area, so I mean United States or Canada or somewhere like the UK or somewhere like that, Germany or France, when you're in New Zealand or Australia and South Africa perhaps, you've got the benefit of that you're in a much smaller pond. Not as many people around. But you have the drawback of, because you're in that smaller pond, it's a lot harder to get like samples or work with companies, or you've got less people to bounce things off. You're all kind of by your lonesome. So I'm the same. I'm the biggest tech YouTuber in New Zealand. I'm not the biggest Kiwi who is a tech YouTuber. That actually goes to Chris, who runs a channel called Tech Tablets. He's actually in New Zealand, although he lives in Spain. He's at about 110, I think, thousand subscribers. So he's quite a way off me.
Okay.
But I'm the biggest here. And it's good in the sense that, it's nice. I've got it kind of to myself in some ways, but but it is difficult, and it's definitely difficult working with, and the product launches are just like something will launch in America, and everyone will have videos. All the main channels have videos out, and I'm calling up places. I'm saying, when am I going to get mine? And 1 week later, it arrives, and that ship has sailed, and we're just sitting there going, guys, I try to get the video out as quick as I can. And is that the same for you in South Africa?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. No, like when Vega launched, there was no chance I was getting that for, I think it was like 2 to 3 months before it would even touch South Africa. Because AMD, there's just nobody here to really review it, and they're not going to bring it in just for me because I don't have that type of clout yet. Hopefully, like once I hit 100K, they'll be like a little bit more. Oh, like that's actually a major milestone. We should give him more review samples. But most of the time, it's a fight. And then also with things like the Ryzen launch, it's like I'm doing all of my benchmarks myself. I have no idea what everybody else is seeing on their benchmarks. I can't talk to anybody because I have the only sample that's in the country. So there's nobody else in South Africa that can bounce ideas off of me with. And then I don't have any contact with any international YouTuber because I'm too small to even get noticed. So it's been a journey, and it does feel isolating for a while. But recently, by making my Linus videos, I've attracted the attention of several major YouTubers, which has been nice.
Okay, such as?
So Steve actually commented on one of my videos for the first time. And then Luke from Linus Tech Tips has actually been messaging me personally, which has been pretty crazy. Yeah. Especially I did a 24-hour charity live stream a couple weeks ago, and he promoted it on his stream and helped me to get a few viewers and donations for the charity, which was really great.
Oh, well, let me know if you do one of those again in the future. I'd be happy to come on for a few hours and we can just talk about things and help you get through it if that's something were you just playing games the whole time, or were you doing
it was games, and it was relaxed Q&A time, because going for 24 hours you have to pace yourself. But It was absolutely phenomenal. We raised over $6,000 in 24 hours, which
Wow.
like I was not expecting, but everybody on my channel stepped up, which is like one of the great things about being on YouTube is just like I didn't know how amazing my community was until like we had an opportunity to like try to achieve a goal together.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. What was the charity it was going to?
It's called Lifechild. It's a local NGO here in South Africa that helps orphaned and vulnerable children get education, food, clothing, all of that stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really good. Then,
Yeah.
eh? That's really good. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you do it again, I can pass it around to Brian and Steve as well, because
Okay.
we're very close, the three of us, as far as tech
Okay.
reviewers go. So that's been quite good, and we could drive a few people over because I think that'd be really good. I think the
Yeah.
community lately, from my perspective anyway, since I started doing tech, being a tech YouTuber about 3 years ago, it seemed like everybody got along very nicely between the tech YouTubers themselves. Or if there was issues, it was behind closed doors type thing.
Right.
And then after, as you're aware, because you made a video on it, there was Jay's video, which was quite controversial in certain ways about the mining thing. And
Yeah.
then there was Logan from Tech Syndicate. He did his response video, which
Right.
was even more controversial because he kind of went against the grain in terms of what gamers would like to hear, I suppose. And
Right.
uh, and then you would see the bickering between them, and I've seen this between other tech YouTubers as well, and I don't feel like it's a good thing. Obviously it's not. I mean, but not everybody's always going to get along. It sounds hypocritical
Yeah.
for me to say that because of what's happened in the past, but I certainly learned a lesson from that, and that you have to be nice to people, and you shouldn't. If you've got an issue with something with another tech YouTuber or something that they've done, maybe they've said something, maybe not about you, but maybe they put up a benchmark or something that you vehemently disagree with, or you find it misleading or something like that, you should just message them directly, privately, and say, hey, look, you know what, I have an issue with this video because whatever the reason is, but doing it publicly, I do not feel like that's good for us going forward, and especially as you said, the community as a whole being quite, I mean, there's good parts, there's good times, and then when there's bad times and people get kind of bloodthirsty, I mean, I'm sure you know what that's
Yeah.
like. They really latch on to a person or a controversy or something, and it's quite, it's not nice to deal with.
Yeah.
You guys don't really, we get, personally, I'll put it this way, you get hardened to it, but it still upsets me sometimes. Not like it ruins my day or I cry or something, but like when
Yeah.
and I don't, and I always love the constructive criticism. If someone comes on, hey Kevin, you could do this a bit better in the video, or maybe you should try this in your editing, do it a better. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. I actually ask you guys for that in a lot of videos. Hey guys, what can I do better? But when someone comes on, as I'm sure you've had, especially with the mining stuff, and they've said things like, hey Brett, I've even seen some of the comments in your videos. It can sort of hit you a little bit. Is that the case for you, or you completely? Because I talk to other people and they're like, oh, I just it makes me laugh, and I do get it. Sometimes when they're trolling and stuff, and it's that
Yeah.
just makes it funny. It's just a bit of fun, really. But when people are really kind of really getting into it, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, for the most part, it doesn't really affect me too badly. Like when it's super over the top, when it's like the violent threats against me, my livelihood, it's just like I know that whoever's typing that has no intent on following through with that.
No.
And so just rationally, like I'll pin that comment to the video because I just like it's so ridiculous that it's not even worth me spending time on it. But most of the time, the comments that bug me the most are the ones that I know I'm insecure about already. Like if I think I did something wrong or did something poorly, and then somebody calls it out, that's when I have a hard time with it. But like I'm always looking for constructive feedback.
Yeah.
Like I know our videos aren't perfect. I know our videos aren't the best on YouTube. Like our color grading's always all over the place. There's things that we're doing wrong all of the time. I'm not as in depth as say like a Gamer's Nexus. Like it's just not our workflow. We're not able to produce reviews like that. And so when they come out with videos that contradict things that I say, it's just like, okay, well, you know, they're the authorities on that because they can test much more in depth than I can. And so I'm not affected by it terribly. I write it off a lot just because I'm doing the best I can. I know my team is doing the best they can. We're trying to produce more videos than we have ever done before. And so like things fall through the cracks. It's difficult. But then also like as far as like the tech YouTuber community, I've done public addressing of certain people's videos. Like I did make a response to Jay's video, but I thought I at least tried to, and some people didn't agree. I tried to do it in a way where I was not attacking Jay at all. I was simply addressing the points that he brought up in the video, which I think can be done in a public discourse fashion of just like, this is what he said. He has a major audience. This is what he's saying. This is my rebuttal to that specific argument of, no, it absolutely is ruining the gaming community. But however, not everybody who's a minor is really doing that. So I've viewed those videos as a way to open up the discourse rather than as a way to attack the people who are making those videos. And some people don't see it like if you attack one person's idea, that's the same as attacking that person, which there's nuance in there. So that's how I view it, at least.
Yeah, I see it the same way. And if you're doing it in a, I think, yeah, your way. I mean, would you consider then Logan's reply to Jay similar to what you did in terms of being constructive, or did you see that as more of an attack? I'm just trying to get your perspective on it, granted from what you just said.
Yeah, I watched his video and I didn't think his intent was to attack Jay. Logan tends to have some eccentric language. Like he's always been that guy who says absurd things. Like at the end of his videos, he's like, if you don't, subscribe, I'm going to come tickle you with unicorns. Like he says random crap like that. Yeah. And so like, I think that's just part of his personality. And I don't think it was an attack on Jay personally, even if it like he probably chose some words that could be construed that way. Mm-hmm. Whereas like my video was, I sat down to try and script it to make sure that I wasn't doing any of that. Yeah. And it seemed like Logan was just speaking off the top of his head, which, warrants you say things that you might regret later. But I felt like his attitude wasn't one against Jay, but rather against the attitude Jay was having. Yeah. He just might not have communicated that in the perfect way possible.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying there. I think that's the. Do you always do all your videos with a teleprompter or a script on hand, or do you kind of do it quite
most of the time? Oh, okay. No, I'm terrible at free flow. So I always make sure that I can read what I want to say, because otherwise I go down rabbit trails and I don't say exactly what I need to say. And so it just allows me to be a lot more concise and proper in what I'm trying to say. So
yeah, I get that. I'm personally, I'm in the other camp. I mean, I run very, very, very minimal scripts, and I kind of, it's something I've ever done since we did speeches in school. I just had one little cue card, and I can kind of think and talk my way through the video, kind of make it up as I go, but at a very quick way.
I'm terrible at that, so I'm super envious.
I get what you mean, though. Sometimes I feel like I've gone on about something, or I've, or I haven't emphasized a point enough, or something like that. But I think the fact that, personally speaking, anyway, that that it feels more like a conversation that I'm having with my audience rather than me sort of talking to them. It's like talking just with somebody. But that's only my personal, and that's why I think. Because Logan does that quite heavily, as far as I'm aware. That's what I really liked about him. Now, that's just me as a viewer, and obviously you guys will see it differently, but I quite like that as well. That's what, when I and I believe Jay does that very heavily as well.
Yeah.
If he's using a teleprompter, then he does it, make it look like he is, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Jay doesn't, because by the looks of it, he has multiple cameras and he's sort of always moving around and never looking. He's only looking at the camera like 50% of the time. So if he's reading off a script, he's obviously got a very minimal one. He's kind of always doing things. So this is the opinion. I've heard plenty of people say they love scripted videos. They like it much more clear, concise, and things. So it's just different things.
Yeah, it's definitely a personal preference thing. But then also, I do recognize that it comes across more as a presentation than a conversation, and that's really where I've tried to do live streaming a lot more so that I can open myself up for the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So, so there's been a lot of, I get, back to the point I was originally making, that I think it would be better. I think that what you said was fine. It's not to say that we need to treat each other with, gloves on, like where we can't ever criticize someone publicly, like in a constructive criticism way, or maybe a difference of opinion way, like you have done with Linus or with Jay in the past. But I think that people, generally, we need to be nicer. And I think I would like it more if it was, in some ways, like how I think political debates should be more now. Instead of just people yelling at each other across different platforms, why not just say, hey, like, me and you have a disagreement, let's do a stream together and let's just debate both our sides. And you could, say, for your example, if there was someone like, that'd be a crazy live stream if you managed to get on the WAN show or something and have a big disagreement with Linus on there.
That's the ultimate goal.
His fans would probably be quite interested. I'll use that word. But I think that would be the better way going forward. I mean, in some ways, people might say, well, then all the small channels will just try to pick a fight with a big channel just to get the visibility. But I think with genuine things, it would be good going forward, and then both people can say, which is something I've wanted to do with the whole mining debate as well. Talking about that and hearing it from both sides of things, because I do think it is something that needs to be done going forward. So you guys, we'll be closing up the stream soon. So if you had any questions for me, myself, or Brett, you can let us know in the chat right now. I thank you for coming on, Brett. That was really cool.
No problem. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, no worries. I definitely don't want this to be the last. I mean, we'll definitely do this again in the future. I want to have three. Steve was, unfortunately, he's been very busy, guys, so he wasn't able to come on. But I'd like Steve to come on because he sort of falls on the right in the middle of the mining debate. I would say that would be fair to characterize. If I've characterized that wrong, he will certainly let me know in the comments section when this video goes up on the channel. But I think he's very much on the fence about the whole thing, so I kind of wanted his, because he would maybe be able to kind of push back on some of the things we're saying about the whole mining debate. But so what going forward, Brett, what are your this will be a very tough question, I'll say this. What are your aspirations for UFD Tech going forward? I mean, where do you... I'm trying not to sound like a job interviewer right now, but where do you see... Where would you like to see the channel in, say, 12 to, say, 24 months' time? Our goal for 2018 is a very ambitious one. I have communicated to the team that I want to be the best tech channel on YouTube. Wow. Okay.
Like that. Yeah. So we're nowhere near that. We're way too narrow of focus, and also like our video quality is not there. My presentation style is not there. We're not anywhere near what I would consider the best. But that's really where I want to take it, because I think I have a great team. And I think we can do it, but there's obviously a lot of things that we have to overcome in ourselves before we can even do that. and I want to be about everything tech. I don't want to be mining, and this is something that I've held firm on in everything I say. I'm not a mining channel. I will not be a mining channel. Yes, we will release mining content only as long as it's relevant and we can add to the discussion things that nobody else is saying. As soon as that runs out, I have no desire to continue covering mining. It's just not. It's not something that is in my blood, I guess. Like, I'm not a miner turned video maker. I'm a video maker turned miner. And there's a different way. There's a different, like, that comes with different aspects of as soon as people don't want useful mining content anymore, then I won't make it. And that's I've never minced words about that, even though people might not get that from the content, because obviously there's a lot of presentation of mining. But you come onto my live stream and I'm always saying, we're not a mining channel. We will never be a mining channel.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say probably about 50% of everything I've learned about cryptocurrency, especially mining itself, has come from your channel. So it has been very insightful in that aspect. So that's been really good. So we have a question. Mohammed asks, Kevin, will in 2019 graphics card prices would be even worse? So I'm guessing, do you think they'll still be high? That's quite far away. So I would say in 2018, I don't expect GPU prices to, from everything I've read right now, I don't expect them to come down in 2018. However, I do think memory prices will start to come back down, I would say around Q4, judging by everything I've been reading about production and different companies opening up more production lines and stuff. So you can have that to look forward to. But graphics card prices, unless something very big happens, no, I don't think it would come down. And we had PP Volto ask, for both of us, well, you can answer this one, Brett. What do you think of Steam and its use of cryptocurrency? So I don't actually know what that is. Do you know what that is?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so Steemit and DTube, they're social media alternatives that reward you for using them with cryptocurrencies. And I think this is the exact stance that I took with Gridcoin, and the same exact stance that I take with Kodak Coin, or anybody who just makes a coin. What value is it adding? We've had plenty of YouTube competitors come and go. We've had social media competitors come and go. And the fact that they use cryptocurrency as their gimmick doesn't mean that they're going to be successful. Yeah. And I've seen this was especially one of the responses that came with the whole YouTube partner program changes. Like everybody was saying, oh, well, if you go on Steemit or DTube, then you get paid no matter what. But you get paid in a cryptocurrency that you can't use anywhere. And its value is super limited. Like the compensation is meaningless, at least to me. Like, I don't care if I have Steemit's crypto coin. What is it going to do for me? Can I transfer it into Bitcoin? Okay, well, great. I make more money off of my YouTube videos than I would from Steemit coins. So it's, I think it's a gimmick, and I think people are just slapping blockchain technology onto places that don't necessarily need it. And it just doesn't feel right. And so, like, I'm okay with Steemit. I'm okay with it being a competitor, but like we've seen much better social media competitors fail. And I think it's only a matter of time before they close up shop, because they can't bring any revenue into the company.
Yeah. So we have a question here from Germany, 20,007. He asked, what are your Zen Plus performance expectations? So for me personally, I think, I mean, I don't have a lot to go off, just the stuff I've seen from AMD. I would say perhaps 5% IPC improvement, maybe 10 at the absolute most. I'm not expecting a huge difference there, but I am expecting the clock speeds to be significantly higher. I would be very, very surprised if we're not hitting 4.5 gigahertz on Zen Plus or Ryzen Plus or Ryzen 2000 series. I would, through whatever means, I would definitely be quite surprised about that. I think that's where the main gains are going to be. But what are your expectations, Brett?
No, that's about right for me as well. I would say, 10%. I don't think AMD is going to give 10% IPC improvement. I think we will have I think Ryzen Plus or Ryzen 2000 series will actually be the Coffee Lake competitor that we need. And unless, I mean, there's rumors of Intel dropping an 8-core Coffee Lake chip on the Z390 chipset. That could possibly happen. But if that doesn't, I think Ryzen 2000 series will absolutely be not only the best bang for your buck, but also probably the best performer in certain price brackets.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be. I really think it's going to be quite a big hit, guys. So we had a what's this a question? Chaos. Brett, huge improvement on quality over the last few months, and even better job opening up a bit more and not getting frustrated with your audience, especially with all these streams. Was that I'm not sure what they're referring to. Do you get a bit grumpy on a stream or something?
No, I think I have learned to just communicate myself better. Okay. My sense of humor is super dry, and so when I sound frustrated, it's actually me saying a joke. But I don't smile. I don't laugh afterwards. Like, I just present it as like I'm upset when really I'm mocking myself or mocking the. I see. So no, I've learned to adapt how I react to certain people. And then I've also learned to ignore certain people who are trying to troll me. So that exists. Okay. But yeah, the huge improvement on quality has just been because I've decided to outsource quality to people on my team. We have a video guy, we have an editor, and they are much better at those jobs than I could ever be. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
You're a lucky man. I wish I had an editor, because that's what I love making the videos. I love doing the testing and stuff. That's so much fun. But the editing, for me personally, is the part I like the least about it. But yeah, no, I have watched your videos from a while ago, and your new ones, they are looking really, really good. The camera stuff is really good. I'm looking to upgrade my camera as well, so that'll be quite good. Jared's Tech. Jared's a great guy. I'm not sure if you know about him, Brett. He's an Australian.
I think I've seen him around.
Yeah, he's Australian. His channel's up and coming. I think he's at about 10,000 subscribers now, or close to it.
Very nice.
But he's going up quick, man. Like, I actually think Jared might go flying past me one day. I mean, like, he's getting up there. He's doing good, man. He's cranking out good content. He asks, do you think we'll see the second-hand market flood with old mining hardware if the prices of various coins stay as low as they are? I would say my thing, as we discussed earlier, I don't think crypto is going anywhere, so I don't see that happening. What I do see happening is when Volta comes out, or Nvidia now, apparently they might be skipping over it or doing something different. But when Nvidia releases their 2000 series or 1100, I don't even. Do you know if they're going 11? Is it going to be like the 1180 or is it the 2080?
Sure. Everybody says something different.
Yeah, so the next generation. I think when that happens, if the how would I put it? If their new GPUs are very, very good for mining, like we see this huge uptick, then I would say that then you'll see a whole bunch of Pascal-based GPUs on the market. I think then you'll see a flood. If suddenly, say the 2070, if it's called that, if that's just really good for mining, then suddenly the market's going to be flooded. You're going to see 1060s, 1070s. So that's what I see. Yeah, Jared says, cheers. You're welcome, mate. You do a really good job, honestly. I'm kind of a bit. I know you said your goal was to be the biggest tech YouTuber. I've always wanted to grow the channel, but I kind of just, my thing, I'm not as competitive, I would say. My thing's all about I just like having fun. You know, I do the videos I want to do. I test the stuff I want to test. I'm just having fun, you know, like if the channel grows and stuff, it's good, but I make the videos I want, and I won't make a video I don't want to, even if it could get me a lot of views or subs or something. If I don't want to do it, I just don't do it. It's not what we're about here. Panasonic, your GH5. That's very, very popular. I see everyone's going to, all the tech YouTubers I talk to, everyone's going to the GH5. It's definitely good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. We're going to be experimenting with the Sony A6500 shortly. It's a bit cheaper, and we're going to see how that works for a little while. The GH5, I mean, it's small. It has everything that you need, 4K 60. 1080p, 180 frames per second, everything that you could possibly need in this thing is good. There are things that suck about it, like autofocus, but typically when you're getting B-roll, you manual focus anyways because it's not a moving object. So there's good things about it. There's also terrible things about it that it's not the perfect camera by any stretch.
Yeah, I mean, this has been something I've been looking at upgrading my camera because I'm still using the same one as I was using 3 years ago. I've been very slow to upgrade my equipment, mainly for the fact that I personally have been always quite scared about changing the channel too much too quickly, because I've seen that in the past collapse other channels when they've suddenly changed the format too quickly and the fans hate it and they will leave. But I've been looking at, I'm not sure if you're aware, I don't actually keep up that much with cameras. There's the Sony AX33 and 53 are the kind of like a handycam looking one, but they have the physical stabilization. Since I'm wanting to do more actual vlog style holding the camera, it actually is very, very, very good for that. And a lot of vloggers, like, you know, you get 4K as well, only 30 FPS though, but I think that's still quite good. But to hold it would be very good, since that's where I'd like to go forward, is actually doing that more, just because not just for making the videos better. I mean, that's ideally what it does, but I actually love that making videos, I can just pick up the camera. I don't have to sit down and set everything up. I just pick up the camera, walk over the window on a bright day, hit record, and I can just say whatever I want, you know, lots of personality, because I don't know if this is the same for you, but when I have to do multiple takes or I have to set up lots of equipment and like there's a lot of like setting things up, just I can't get into the flow as well as when I've like you got the energy, you know, you just want to pick up the camera. Oh yeah, I know what I want to say, and I just hit the record button and I can just go, and that's what I want to do going forward. So that'll be a camera that I've looked at. That may be me personally. I mean, if you're sticking to a script, then maybe it's a little bit easier, but I personally like when I'm going just free flow, it's a bit easier like that. So that's one that I would look at. But the GH5 definitely is. It's quite expensive though, isn't it? It's quite a lot of money to buy that camera, isn't it?
It's double the price of what you're looking at for just the body.
Wow.
Jesus. Yeah. No, it's a lot of money. I probably wouldn't necessarily recommend it. To be honest, we got it for the slow-mo capabilities and the image stabilization it has over the GH4, but it's not the perfect camera, and so we're trying to find other solutions at this point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it took me a while to save up. You know, the AX33 here is about 950. The 53 is about 1200. So I'm not sure which one I'll end up, but it took me a while to put aside even that money. So when I look at things like the GH5 and stuff, and everyone, I just think, wow, like, people must be doing good when they just go out and buy all this like $5,000 worth of camera equipment and stuff. I just think, Jesus.
No. We sold our GH4. We sold all of the Vegas we had. We sold a whole bunch to be able to actually afford the new camera. So.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, wow. Because I always look at everyone else and I'm like, man, wow, everyone just can do this stuff. Jared said the GH5 dropped $400 after I bought it. Rip.
Shame.
I feel for you, bro. That definitely sucks. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to do it for this stream. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Big thanks to Brett for coming on.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, it was literally like I found his channel last week. I hit him up on Twitter. Was like, hey, dude, you want to come on with me? And Brett was just great about it, and he's just come straight on. So that's really good, and that's what I would like to do more going forward. I wish other tech reviewers were as open to it, because I've not a lot of them have been, but I think it's something that maybe needs to happen a bit more often. Personally speaking, anyway, going forward, because I think it's good for everyone, and the fans love it when there's multiple channels come together. You know, it's always good.
Yeah.
I always think I personally enjoy it when I see two tech YouTubers doing collab videos. So I would imagine everybody else does as well. So thank you guys for watching. I'll make sure to put this up on the channel very soon. And the show was early. Well, it's midnight for me, so I'm not really sure if I called that early. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Cheers.